So I'm just speaking without any pre-written script, so I apologize for any inconsistencies. But I just wanted to talk about the discussions that surround Taylor and for some reason why it's so difficult to have a reasonable conversation about her. It just feels like there's two extremes when it comes to those discussions. On one hand, you have her fans that will just blindly defend her for everything. They'll put her on a pedestal and they'll just act like she's the best at everything. And they'll attack anyone that disagrees and label you as a jealous hater. And then on the other end, you have the people who hate her with a passion, who just want to see her suffer and fail at everything, who refuse to give her credit for anything she does. They'll slut shame her, they'll discredit her work and talent. And it's frustrating because just why can't we meet in the middle with these discussions? Because I feel like in certain conversations, I feel like I'm going out of my way to defend her. And others, I feel like I have to go out of my way to, criticize her and hold a grounded perspective. Because like most people, I believe Taylor is a complex person who has her flaws, her strengths, her weaknesses, her shortcomings, all of those things. And I just, why is it so hard to acknowledge, that she isn't this one-dimensional character who's objectively evil, objectively good? Like recently, I came across a thread of comments that were talking about her music and her as a musician, and it started out fine. They were just making basic comments about how they don't really care for her music, but they weren't being overly negative. But then it transitioned into like blatant misogyny. They were slut-shaming her. They were like attacking her for dating too much and for weaponizing her boyfriends, whatever that meant. They even went as far as to accuse her of having ghostwriters, which, again, that's such an unfair narrative to hold against someone who has dedicated their entire career to proving themselves as a writer. And it's so frustrating because, like, can we criticize someone without degrading them as a human being and like taking away the effort that they put into their work? On the other hand, you have Swifties who refuse to acknowledge that she's not a perfect person. She has done and said very problematic stuff. And for whatever reason, they'll get really upset if you try to hold her accountable. Something that I've seen really pisses them off is the whole unethical billionaire narrative, which, again, I do agree with. She's not an ethical billionaire. There is no way to be an ethical billionaire. Yet for some reason, they claim that she's the exception and that she did it fairly while ignoring all of the factors that led to her becoming this filthy rich. And then, they get angry and they'll lash out at you. They'll call you names. They'll say you're jealous and that you just can't imagine having as much money as she has. And like, they refuse to acknowledge how negative the impact is that she has on the environment, on consumption. And it's just frustrating because these are real issues and they do matter because they do affect us in the long run. And then, more recently, I saw a video that really put things into perspective for me, where it compared Swifties to Trump supporters. not because of like personal politics, but because of how they act in regard to one person. They put this person on a pedestal, will blindly defend anything and everything that they do. They'll give in to overconsumption and capitalism for this person. They will do everything to make sure that person is rich and powerful. They will attack anyone who criticizes that person, who doesn't, praise them on the same level that they do. And they're completely, unaware of how deranged their behavior can be. And it's incredibly hard to communicate that with them. Anyways, that's all I have to say. I might do a future video where I have a more properly written script detailing what I have to say instead of like a half thought out rant. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and I'll see you next time.